Theology. Unplugged.
Hey friends, welcome to Theology Unplugged. I'm Michael Patton, and Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. I haven't seen you guys in a couple of weeks. And actually, I don't know how much I'm going to see you this week. I planned on starting back the Through Theology in a year this week. However, there's been a few things I'll talk about that have come up that aren't taken away from me. It's not that I'm going to stop doing this, I promise. It is my primary focus. However, there's something else that has kind of been going on. I've been getting started, and I need to see this through, at least being able to get it going, and make it, take the training wheels off and let it run on its own. So that is what I'm doing. I'm going to not do that much. I don't know. I wasn't even going to do anything today. I was just going to put a message out on Facebook and then on Patreon and say, I'm not doing anything this week, but then my mind gets going. And so I don't know what I will do this week. It probably will not be the Through Theology in a year. Now, one thing I'm going to give to you guys in just a minute, and I value your feedback. This is a blog I wrote yesterday, and it's based upon a graphic that I made a long time ago on right whenever the iPad came out. And, I drew it with my fingers. And so it was something that I was thinking of, and it became very, very popular. So probably the most popular thing I've ever done is this graphic. And it's really funny. Maybe you've seen it before. But I've written a couple of blogs before about the graphic to explain it. I just updated the graphic, made it look better, more simplified, more streamlined as far as the messaging. And it's all the same graphic. I just updated the wording. And then I also wrote a brand new blog from scratch about it because, it's been 15 years since I did it. And I've thought a lot about this. And I've had a lot of reaction to this. Now, I'm going to bring that up. I'm going to talk about this Church Fathers in a Year that I'm doing. And I'm going to try to sell you something in just a little bit. So hang with me here. First thing I want to do is tell you about this graphic. Okay, so this graphic right here, you may have seen it before. Christianity versus other religions. That is basically what the concept is there. And I'm gonna read the blog to you, but I want you to know what it's based upon. So those of you who are listening will know, and those of you who are watching will be able to know what this graphic's about, because the blog, as I read the blog, I'm going to be showing other graphics in the background. It's just something I'm trying. I love your feedback on it, but it's actually, hold on just a second. It's an AI of my voice. And so whenever you hear that, you'll hear me, but it's going to be kind of weird. And there's going to be some places where I speed up, and I can't really figure that out, why it did that. But like I said, I'm trying to figure all this stuff out. But I think it's good enough to share with you guys just to see your reaction. I want to see, do you like this kind of stuff? Would you like all of my blogs like this to come up on YouTube and various media outlets? Instead of reading sometimes my blogs are really long, but instead of having to read through my blogs, we live in a digital age, and I'm perfectly fine with people watching and engaging that way. I don't think there's any lack. As a matter of fact, I think there's some gain. You got the big readers out there that are like, if you don't read these books, then you're not really an academic. I don't know. I think there's certain things you're going to have to read as an academic, and you need to keep reading on your schedule still, but I am not convinced at all that it is better for learning. It's up to you. It's different learning styles. Different people learn in different ways. I don't know why I'm saying all this, but having said that, this is an option for you to be able to read my blogs possibly. I'm testing that out. This is what it is. Now, let me explain to you first what this graphic is all about. Now, this is Christianity versus other religions. If you notice here, and I'm describing this also for those of you who are listening, there are 4 quadrants, kind of, drawn with a finger. And there are, in the first quadrant, there are 2 sides. Each side has 4 quadrants. The first side, the first 4 quadrants says how other religions began. And it says, it's got a guy asleep, and he's having a dream. He's got a little bubble coming out of his head, and he's having a dream, but it's a private dream, you know. This is how a religion begins. Somebody has a private dream and wants to share that with people. The next one is a private angelic encounter. And yes, that is an angel, and that is a stick figure right by the stick angel. And the angel's giving him some kind of message. And so that is another way, a private angelic encounter. And then some people start a religion just by a private idea. You know, they're kind of a philosophy. It comes to their mind. And so that stick figure on the bottom left is having the idea. That's supposed to be like an idea thing. I don't know why. I don't even know what that is. It looks like an exclamation point. Maybe that's what I meant. I don't know. But anyway, that's an idea. He's having an idea. The whole thing is this. One person has a private encounter, a private dream, a private idea, and then that one person goes and tells other people, and the religion begins. You get what I'm saying here? It's just one person. And it's the truthfulness is based upon the truthfulness of whether or not his idea, his dream, his angelic encounter, his talking to God, whatever is true. Now, my argument on the right-hand side, the 4 quadrants on the right, is this. This is how Christianity began. My whole point here is that God makes a big footprint. He doesn't do things in private. Jesus' public ministry, then his public execution. Then, and that's the top left quadrant. And then on the top right, it says he was buried in a public tomb. And those are people, and that's an angel again. And then the bottom left quadrant has a guy that is revealing himself to lots of people. Jesus revealed himself to the public, and then what happened? The public went and told everybody what they saw. And so the whole idea of this is we don't serve a private God. Now, I'm not saying God doesn't do things in private. I'm just saying whenever he wants to make himself known, whenever he makes one of his big footprints, like the Exodus in the Old Testament, where he parted the sea, and for the rest of the time, the Israelites always referred back to the Exodus. They did. I mean, look at the Psalms, look at the prophets. They're always saying, we serve the God who parted the Red Sea, who delivered us out of Israel. That was the historic, not private, public encounter that God did in the Old Testament. For the New Testament, this is what we rely upon, is this massive footprint he made, this massive historic footprint he made, this massive public footprint he made, not private, not a dream, not an idea, but Jesus on the earth in a public place, in a public time where everybody can research it. And now my whole idea, this blog is it's falsifiable, and you'll hear that in just a moment. So I'm going to explain this in the blog and explain this idea. So I wanted you to get an idea of what this looked like first, so that whenever I'm reading this, you will know. Okay, here it is. Listen up. A humble graphic, a bold claim. Humor me as I share this humble graphic of celestial artistry. Joke as I might about this, it truly represents the way I understand my faith, and no matter how strong my doubts may get, I have nowhere else to go. Let me explain. The problem with religious beginnings. When you think about how religions begin, one thing becomes criminally clear. They all always start all by their lonesome. In other words, they're based on events or ideas that happened in private. It might be a dream someone had, a vision they claimed to see, or a personal idea about God. These experiences are inherently unverifiable. No one else was there. No one else saw it happen. The entire religion depends on the word of one person convincing others to trust their story. I'm not saying they didn't believe it happened. I'm just saying no one else can responsibly devote their lives to the same.
Private origins of major religions. Think about it. Islam begins with Muhammad claiming to have received revelations from the angel Gabriel in a cave. Buddhism starts with old Prince Siddhartha Gautama sitting under a tree, looking into the abyss of evil, finally achieving enlightenment Bodhi, and teaching what he discovered. Mormonism began with Joseph Smith's supposed private revelation from God and Jesus, secretly informing him that all Christian traditions were wrong. Then the angel Moroni gave him golden plates that supposedly corrected everything. No one else saw any of those. Even ancient religions begin with philosophers or mystics who had a private vision or idea they shared. Across the board, they rely on private revelations. Christianity, public from the start. Now compare that to Christianity. What other religion starts with public, historic events witnessed by the public? Christianity begins not with a dream, a vision, or a private encounter, but with events that happened in broad daylight, seen and experienced by crowds. Jesus Christ didn't work in secret. He had a public ministry. He performed miracles, preached to thousands, and openly challenged the religious authorities of his time. His death was a public execution on a Roman cross, witnessed by a multitude in Jerusalem. And most importantly, his resurrection wasn't revealed to just one person. Jesus appeared to over 500 people after rising from the dead. Corinthians 15:6. After his resurrection, he stayed on the earth for 40 days, offering many convincing proofs that he had returned from the dead. Acts 1:3. Those who witnessed this were the foundation of Christianity, and their testimony spread the message of the gospel across the world. A falsifiable faith. This is why Christianity stands apart. It's not rooted in private dreams or philosophical ideas. It's rooted in history. When God works in Christianity, he leaves a big footprint, undeniable evidence of his presence and power. Here's a way to put it that might raise some eyebrows. Christianity is a falsifiable belief. In other words, it set itself up for failure. If Christianity weren't true, it could have been disproven right out of the gate. That's the thing about falsifiability. It's what we naturally look for. Humans are wired to verify stuff. If someone says, I was president of the United States, we're like, okay, let me check the records. If they say, I built this building in 1942, we're asking, does the building exist? Who built it with you? Show me some proof. Falsifiable claims can be checked, and they're either true or false. Why other religions avoid details. Now, if you're making something up, there's one major rule everyone knows. Don't give details that can be verified. You don't include things people can disprove. That's why other religions stick to private visions, dreams, or vague ideas. Nobody can check those. Heck, you might even fool yourself into believing it. Christianity's bold risk. But Christianity, it's the opposite of safe. It's based on public historical events. Jesus didn't come quietly. He showed up in one of the biggest cities during one of the most turbulent times and caused one of the biggest commotions in history. He was executed in the most public way possible by the most powerful government on earth. Then he rose and didn't just quietly slip away to heaven. He could have moseyed off the scene in secret. Honestly, that's what I would have made up. But in this story, he starts showing up to everybody. For 40 days, he appeared to people. And then his followers, whose religion wasn't even expecting this, went around saying he was alive and they'd seen him, all while the tomb, the people, and the witnesses were still there for anyone to investigate. A message nobody wanted. Seriously, if you were making up a religion, would you ever do it like this? The Jews wouldn't have accepted it because, well, let's be honest, cursed is the one who hangs on a tree. That's straight out of their Torah, Deuteronomy 21:23. No way are they going to say, oh yeah, that guy hanging on the cross, the one who looks totally cursed by God, that's our Messiah. And as it turns out, our Messiah is God in the flesh. And what about the Greeks? Forget it. They hated the physical. They were dualists. To them, the body was this abhorrent, necessary evil. The idea of God taking on flesh, not a chance. A resurrected body, 1,000 times worse. That's literally the last thing you'd try to sell to the Greeks. The unstoppable truth. So if Christianity wasn't true, it wouldn't have survived a week, let alone 2,000 years. The claims are just too public, too risky, too easy to disprove. But here's the thing, it did survive. Why? Because it happened. The advent of Christ was no small thing. People knew he was there. His life, death, and resurrection left a footprint so big it couldn't be ignored. If someone made it all up, they'd have to be the worst PR person on the planet. Honestly, who would choose this story? And yet here we are. Not because it was a clever idea by a good public representative, but because it was true, and history bears this out.
Now, I hate this next part. It is so slow.
So, what's stopping you? Okay, I'm done. Now, go follow Christ.
A lot of
It's
it's like
all
that.
true.
I don't like this. But go
Now
follow
you
Christ.
have nowhere else to go.
All right, what'd you think? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Write your comments. I know it can get better. It can look better. It can sound better, but we'll see. Next thing I want to tell you about is, now that I just told you about that, This is Through the Church Fathers in a Year. This is what I've been working on for during the break. And this is where we get together. Let me try to think of it the way I'm getting ready to make an advertisement for it. So my basic idea is this. Consider how we all want to know about our ancestry. I had an ancestry test not very long ago. It was, and I got it for me and my sisters because they're the same as me. And it was really interesting looking to see where we come from and who's in our past. That's one thing that's really interesting is who's in our past. I've got this great grandfather. Listen to this. You're going to like this. This great grandfather who was a cowboy, or he was back in the 1800s, and he was playing cards at a saloon, just like in the movies. He was playing cards in a saloon, and a guy cheated, or at least he accused him of cheating. And as it was in that day, you would go out and have a duel, and it was legal. It really was. It was legal. So my great granddad had a duel. And of course, he's, a patent and he's going to win. And that's what happened. Because we win at everything. We're the toughest. And that's another story. But he won. and killed the guy. That's not. I'm not. I don't mean to laugh at that. That's sad. That was an actual guy that died, but my great granddad actually killed somebody. But and this is what happened. This is the interesting part, is that he felt really bad. I've read the story before. I've got it just right over here. You read through the story and you hear he felt bad and he felt so guilty that he turned to God and ended up becoming an itinerant Baptist preacher. I love that. I love that story. That is part of my heritage. It's part of my mind. It's part of who I am. We know that, and we look to that when we're talking about our DNA, our blood DNA. But this, what I'm going through here, is part of our spiritual DNA. And let me tell you something. As important, as interesting as your blood DNA is, I'm telling you, your spiritual DNA is much, much more important. Who you are is who you are in Christ. You are part of a new family, and that family has existed for 2,000 years. It's existed before that, but we learned about our heritage in the Bible. But oftentimes we, especially as Protestants, neglect the entirety of church history. We think church history started in the 1600s with the Reformation, with Martin Luther. It did not. It's all our family. And so what I've done is I have put together, just like have you ever done Through the Bible in a year? I do that all the time. And in the last couple of years, I've taken people through it. We had 30 people the first time, 60 people the second time. And this time I was thinking, we ought to do something through the church fathers in a year and read the greatest works of the greatest ancestors, our great granddads, all the way back from the very beginning, right after the apostles died. There were these guys that started writing, and they were Christians, and they were good guys. And we read through them and read through all their problems, all the things that they are, how they became who they are. St. Augustine is one of my favorites. He probably is my favorite, but he's like my great granddad. He talks in his Confessions, and we're reading through Confessions. I think tomorrow we're actually going to get to the pear tree story, but he talks about how he used to sin just for the fun of it. Whenever he was a kid, he was like, I would go and steal pears from a pear tree, not because I was hungry, but just because I could, and just because I wanted to do something bad. His whole philosophy is built around his understanding of his own sinfulness. Then he goes into details about things in his life and how he became who he is. And he's one of the great Christians of all time. He is. Maybe the greatest since the Apostle Paul. But we read him. We need to read him. At least his greatest works. Can't read them all because it would take us 4 years to get through everything he's written. But just like you go through the Bible in a year, what I've done is I have curated a select list of what I say are the greatest church fathers, the greatest writings of the greatest church fathers until the Reformation. Now, I'm not going to be able to get through that many of them, so you'll be able to be critical of it. I don't mind. Tell me what you think I should do, but join us because I've got a site set up. It is click on the description, however you get to the stuff underneath, the description about this podcast. Click on that and you'll see Through the Church Fathers in a Year. Go there, and this is a community of people. We're all reading through it together. And so right now we're reading Clement every single day, and then we're reading Augustine, Confessions, every day, and we're reading St. Thomas Aquinas every day. The Augustine and the Aquinas will stay pretty steady throughout the year. We're just reading little bits of them. And I try to keep it interesting. So there's different types of writings, sometimes pastoral, sometimes very personal, and sometimes very theological. And I think you'll like it. I really do. These are our ancestors. This is your DNA. Whether you like them or not, they are part of who you are. And I want you to read them, and that's the way you need to think. So that's my point. Go and join us here on the Through the Church Fathers in a Year. Guess what? You wouldn't believe it. You won't believe it. We have got, whenever I did the through the Bible in a year last year. I think we had 65 sign up. So far, we are well over 300. I know we passed 300. I don't know how far we are beyond 300 right now, but it's great. You don't understand how excited I am every day whenever I'm reading this. And then I start to see all the comments underneath the day's reading from everybody that's reading it. And they're talking about all the things that they said. It's just incredible. It really is. It's just nothing brings me more joy. I know we all read the Bible a lot, or I hope we do. I know we need to do that more. But this is stuff you've never read. This is your ancestry. This is your DNA. And I want you to join us on Through the Church Fathers in a Year, if you will, if you can. And listen, you don't have to do it every day. Just do it as much as you can. Okay? You don't have to do it. You may miss a few days. I'm not going to miss a single day. That's my commitment. But I'm not saying you have to do that. I'm the leader. I'm the guy who's called the professor on the site. So I'm there for you at that site. That is great. I want you to go through that. So that's one thing. The last thing I want to talk about today is this. This is my new. Now you can't look at the wording up here because I haven't got the emblems emblems. I don't know what they're called, but these things, the label things that I order for these. This one says P52, the John Rylands papyri. It's not John Rylands. This right here, watch this. This right here is real papyri made in Egypt. They started making papyri again recently. And this is real papyri made in Egypt. I ordered that, and then I carefully reproduce the greatest manuscripts of all time. This manuscript that you're looking at, you can zoom in on it right there. If you zoom in and you see that line right there, it looks like an X, and it looks like an I, and it looks like a C. This manuscript right here is a facsimile of it's a facsimile of P115. P115 is the earliest. This is the earliest manuscript that we have, the earliest record that we have of this portion of Revelation. And this portion of Revelation is the portion with that thing I showed you, that XIC, that means 616 in Greek. The earliest copy of Revelation that we have in existence dates back to the 3rd century. Said that the earliest copy of this portion of Revelation we have in existence says the mark of the beast is 616 instead of 666. Irenaeus said he knew of a manuscript as well that said 616. He chose 666, but I think it's just incredibly interesting, and I love this kind of stuff. That's why I reproduce these manuscripts. Show off your love for history. Show off your love for the Bible here. This is something that is a conversation starter, and you show people that right there, and there's an explanation on the website about what the history is and what it all means, but I've got that, and I'll put a link to that as well. Credo courses, the P115. You can get them all. P115, P56 or 52, and then I've got what else? P66. I'm going to make another too. I'm making all kinds of great manuscripts. You wouldn't believe the great stuff I'm doing here. So we will start the Church Fathers soon. Through Theology in a Year again soon. I promise. I think it'll be next week. Join us for Through the Church Fathers. I've got so many through things. Through the Bible in a Year, through the Church Fathers in a Year, through Theology in a Year. I'm covering it all, okay? Because, it's just, I'm that smart. I can cover all that stuff. So you can follow me in every way. Nobody else can do this but me. Nobody else can make these manuscripts as good as I do. Actually, my son made this. And I have to get him to keep on making. He makes them a lot better than I do. Okay, guys, listen. What else do I got? Oh, don't forget, go and support. This is the way you can support me. If you like what I'm doing, you believe in what I'm doing, you want me to keep on doing. This is the way I make a living. It is. It's the only way I make a living is by going there. There is a place on Through the Church Fathers. I have to think about it every time. Through the church fathers in a year where you can support, but it doesn't cost anything, okay? So whenever you join, it is free. Don't worry about it. Don't think that I look at people down. Most of the people, 99% of the people are not paying anything. So you'll join them. That's okay. I just need support because that website costs money, especially with this many people. All of the things I'm doing along with it, transferring my voice, transferring my writings, the church fathers' writings into a format that you can listen to or watch. I have to get these programs, and they're costing me some money. So I need support. The best place to support me is over on Patreon, or just whenever you're on Patreon, you can see a little place that says donate. And you can go straight to a donation page if you just wanted to give a one-time donation. Anyway, that's enough. That's enough of that. Thank you so much for joining, and we will see you next time.
Theology